Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Laura. This is Craft Yoga and Design, and today we have a full body stretch. So get ready for some long and juicy holds to feel good from all the way top down in your body. So we are going to go ahead and get started. You may want to have a couple of blocks with you. You can do this whole practice also without any props at all. We're going to just get started in a nice cross-legged seat, coming to the center of our mat. It doesn't matter the cross of your legs. We're just going to start out here, and we're going to actually go ahead and just begin by slowing down. Allow ourselves to take the hands to rest to the knees. Palms can be facing down or facing up, depending on how open you're feeling today. And then if it feels good, you can allow the gaze to soften, maybe just looking out 3 or 4 feet in front of you. Sometimes it feels good to allow the eyes to close all the way. When you're ready, we're going to just go ahead and start to move into the breath. And just take this first 2 minutes to ground. It's always nice to take this moment, whether it's daily or once a week, just to check in with our bodies. And it comes to a point where you're like, wow, this is the first time I've noticed my breath all day, or maybe all week. Become familiar with how your breath feels as we pause here. No need to alter the breath, just feeling its movement in and out of the body. Does your chest rise? Does your belly expand? Do your arms feel heavy? Maybe as we start to slow down here, you notice the rhythm starts to change. As we flow, maybe you'll recognize your body starts to create more space within itself. We're going to make our way to creating that space with some juicy stretches, some longer holds today. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and blink the eyes open if they were closed. We're going to start with just some gentle neck rolls. So let's start by, again, seated nice and tall, crown of head reaching towards the ceiling. And then we're going to drop the right ear towards the right shoulder. We'll take some half neck rolls. So from there, we're going to allow the chin to start to fall towards the chest. As you do this, I want you to think less about actually touching the chest towards the chin, or the chin towards the chest, I should say. And instead, think about creating length along the back of the neck. Still reaching forward, just a slight reach with that crown, creating length to the back of the neck. So you're keeping the back of the neck nice and long. As you can notice, I can still talk freely in this position. I'm not crunching into my throat. We're going to slowly roll over towards the left side. Draw the left ear to the left shoulder. And then when you're ready, on an exhale, we're going to start to roll down through center. I encourage you to take this at your own pace, using your breath in your own time. It doesn't even need to be one long exhale. You can breathe, inhale, and exhale throughout the whole thing, pausing wherever you feel that you need it most. I can tell the back of my neck is quite tight, so you may notice that I pause as I come through center and just hang out here a little bit longer. No need to force anything. The muscles along the back and the sides of the neck don't like to be forced into new movements. They enjoy gentleness and just taking it a little bit at a time. This is a great place to take your time and really, really enjoy it. When you're ready, we're going to all end with the left ear to the left shoulder. That way we're even on both sides. So now we have the left ear over the left shoulder. But now I want you to take your gaze. We're going to turn the head so we're looking past that left knee. Our head is at a diagonal. And then from here, let's take that left hand and just bring it to the back of the head, just resting on the back of the head, fingertips above the nape of the neck. And we're going to use the weight of the hand to give ourselves a little bit of traction along the back of the neck and into the upper traps. You can take the right arm and extend it out long, maybe reach for the fingertips, reaching for the mat. And breathe and hold in this gentle neck stretch. Inhale and exhale. When you're ready, we're going to slowly come up, come through center. Maybe take a pause, take a beat here before we move over towards the right. We'll move and face again on that diagonal, looking maybe now at that top corner of the mat. And then take the right hand, take it to the back side of the head. We're on the just fingertips above the nape of the neck. Just grabbing onto that lower ridge of the skull, but only using the weight of the arm. I'm not forcing the head down. I'm not causing any extra pulling onto the neck. Just using gravity and the weight of my arm. The left arm again can extend out long, maybe fingertips on the mat. When you're ready, we can inhale, come up, come back through center. Let's all take a great cleansing inhale. And exhale, release. From here, we're going to come through all fours. And we're going to come up to a halfway lift position. So in yin yoga, there really is only one standing pose, and that is dangling pose. So from your dangling pose, you can just check the width of your feet so that they're separated at about hip width distance. And then allow yourself to take a nice bend in the knees. From here, we're going to hinge forward at the hips and just allow the upper torso to drape over the top of those legs. The hands can come to the floor to start with. Using the hands as a little bit of balance if you feel like you might be a little off kilter. Try to keep weight into the balls of the feet. And from here, we're going to dangle. Again, the hands can stay onto the mat for support. If you'd like to create a little more traction, you can grab those outside of the opposite elbows. And then from here, again, maybe give the head and the neck a little bit of wiggle. So you allow the head and neck to fully release. And then use the weight of the opposite arm to pull gently onto those upper arms. You might notice a little more traction, a little more stretch into the low back. If it feels good, you can straighten the legs out. Once you do so, you may notice more of a stretch into the back of the legs and into the hamstrings. Wherever you feel like you want it most, go for that position. Again, a bent leg might get a little bit more into that low back. Whatever feels good for you. On the next inhale, let's place the hands onto the mat and we'll just come to a halfway lift. So we bring the head even with the heart. We come out of that inversion just for a moment so we don't have too much blood flow to the head. And from here, we're going to take Padahastasana, a little wrist opener, a little stretch. And we're going to take The left fingertips, work them underneath the left foot. Do the same thing for the right. And so now you have your toes working into that crease of the wrists. Maybe you can start to shift the weight a little bit more into the balls of the feet. You can wiggle into the toes to press into the wrists. Maybe even start to bend into the elbows and to increase that forward fold. Again, this is full body. We're working really from fingertips all the way to toes, all along the back side of the body. Inhale here. Exhale, maybe deepen a little bit further. And on the next inhale, let's release the hands again. Bring the head even with the heart, so we're coming to a halfway lift. You can even have the hands on the top of the thighs. And then from here, we're going to take one more forward fold. This time, I encourage you to bend deeply from the knees. Allow the torso to drape over the top of the legs. And then the hands are going to come to the back of the head with the fingers interlaced. Thumbs just at the nape of the neck, maybe even giving yourself a little bit of a neck massage. And from here, we're going to take just a gentle bounce. Allow the head and the neck again to loosen. Feel everything just remains soft from your shoulders to the crown of the head. And we're going to take just this little gentle bounce. You might notice this helps with the stretch along the back of the shoulders and even into the back of the hamstrings. And when you're ready, we're going to release the hands. We're going to step the feet back and come through or into our tabletop. From our tabletop pose here, we're going to take our thread the needle. So let's inhale the right arm up, coming into a twist, reaching the right fingertips up towards the sky. And then we're going to exhale, draw that right arm through and all the way until your head, the side of the head reaches the mat, and we come into this beautiful twist in thread the needle. The left hand can totally stay right here next to the face. You can press into that left hand. Feel a stretch in the outside of that right shoulder. Sometimes it feels good to take the bind, and you can wrap that left hand, draw it to the inside of that right thigh. If you are taking the bind, think about pressing into that right forearm, pressing into the earth, opening up, and holding here. Remember, in any kind of twist, to find your breath, reconnect with the breath, allow the belly to expand, even though it feel like it's in a more restricted type of space, even into the upper chest. If you had the bind, we're going to go ahead and release that. Take the left hand again to the side of the face, and we're going to press firmly into the mat. We're going to open up. Come up into that big twist, reaching with the right fingertips, maybe coming back a little further this time, even if you're able. And then we're going to take the right hand back into our tabletop. Before we move on to the other side, we're going to come into our melting heart or puppy pose. So the hips and the knees can stay right where they're at, and we're going to walk those arms out. Nice and long, reaching like we're just a little puppy taking its morning stretch. And then we're going to reach down, allow the chest to start to reach for the mat. Maybe the forehead comes down to the mat as well. If you're feeling more open into the upper body and into the shoulders, maybe you can take the chin towards the mat. Again, avoid this version of the posture if it's too much on the neck. Keep pushing in towards the mat with the chest. Allow the belly just to stay soft. Find this time when we're in quiet stillness just to pay close attention to your body. Your thoughts will want to come, and they will come. But here we are in our flow today as observers in our bodies and in our minds. No judgment, just here to be present. On an inhale, you can come first to your forearms and then press up into your tabletop position. We'll need to take that thread the needle pose on the opposite side. So this time the right hand stays connected with the earth, and we're going to twist open up with the left side. Reaching with those left fingertips and then start to twist. Draw the left hand underneath that right arm. Start to settle the left shoulder onto the mat. And finally, allow the left side of the face to come to rest onto the mat. From here, your choice on the position of the right hand. It can either stay to the outside of the face, give yourself a little press to open into the back side of that left shoulder, or you can take a little rep and maybe take the bind. This will take a little more balance, a little more openness into the right shoulder. At the same time, you may need to activate more into that left arm, pressing down into the earth. Find your breath. If you had the bind, go ahead and release that. Take the right hand, press into the mat alongside the face. And we're going to come up again, reversing from where we came, lifting the left fingertips up towards the sky, maybe gazing up, and then reaching the left hand down. From here, we're going to shift forward, allow the hips to connect with the mat, and come into our Sphinx pose. I'm just going to wiggle my way back a little further on my mat so I'm not traveling off of it. And for our Sphinx pose, let's go ahead and take a nice inhale with the shoulders just slightly behind the elbows, lifting up with that center of the chest. Exhale, relax. The feet should be out nice and wide to make space for the low back. Avoid any pinching or sharpness into the back. From here, we'll move into taking the hands just in front of the shoulders and maybe a little bit more wider than the shoulders. So you can make space to have the elbows bent. And we're going to come into a few baby cobra rolls. So let's go ahead and lift up with the chest. Slight bend in the elbows. You don't need to come up super far, depending on how flexible you are in your back body. And then let's go ahead and lower back down. Inhale up, rising up, just like a little spinal roll as we come up, and then lead down with the chest as we lower. Rising up, rolling up with the spine, waking up the upper body, lower down. Rising up and lower down. On the last one, we're going to rise up. Maybe not coming up quite so far, and then we're going to lift up with the hands, creating a more activation in the upper body. Strengthen the upper back, draw the elbows back, reaching with those elbows towards the center line, holding here for 3, 2, and 1. Let's go ahead and lower down. We'll shift back, coming into a child's pose just for a moment. Take an inhale. Exhale, release. On a great big inhale, feel the breath travel down the spine, all the way reaching, seeking the hips. And exhale, soften into the mat. Let's inhale, shift forward. We're going to come into our Janu Shirshasana, or a head to knees. A little variation here. We're going to start with the left leg extended out long. The foot is flexed. And then we're going to draw the right foot in to meet the inside of that left thigh. From here, we're going to take more of a lateral stretch. So you may want to have even a little more of an open angle on your right foot. So maybe not fully connected to that left inner thigh. Play around with your angles by all means. From here, we're going to go ahead and start to lean, side body lean towards the left. You may want a block to have your left forearm resting and stay a little bit higher here. When you are in your side body stretch, I encourage you to keep the chest rotated and reaching for the ceiling, like you have a little sunflower right at the center of your chest that needs a little bit more sunlight. And then we're going to go ahead and stay in this side body stretch and breathe. Feeling this into the hips, also onto the outside of the right side body. As we hold here for a couple of minutes, if you feel like your body has released and you want to maybe change the height or remove any props, by all means adjust. Once you find your new variation, then you'll once more come into stillness. On an inhale, let's come back to an upright posture. We're going to go ahead and shift back with our fingertips behind us. And let's just take a couple of windshield wipers before we move and take that position onto the opposite side. Maybe feel a little bit more blood flow into that left hip. Those long holds do create a restriction, a little tension onto those thicker ligaments and to the fascia. And so you might feel like all of a sudden when you come out, there is a lot of blood flow moving. Let's go ahead and extend that right leg out long. Draw the left foot again. You can start with it closer to the thigh or have a more open position. And from here, we're going to side body lean over towards the right, using any props that you see may fit you better. Definitely different from one side versus the other. And then from here, you can take the right or the left arm up overhead and reach as we side body lean towards the right. If it's too much to have the arm overhead, you can certainly have it down to the side. As I showed on the opposite side, I do like having a little weight onto the inside of the groin here just to keep that left leg connected. And as I was saying before, when you come out of the posture and you feel all of a sudden the blood and the circulation start moving again, it's that really healthy connection of creating more blood flow by having all of a sudden this stillness and then rushing the area of the joint with the healthy nutrients of the blood and the circulation. Again, creating these long holds does cause, it affects more mobility in our joints by holding them for as long as 3 to 5 minutes. But we need to hang out in the posture for that length of time to create any or change or any effect into the joint. So, like anything, it takes time, it takes effort. Even though we look like we're in stillness, we are still creating a lot of effort in these movements. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and come back up to an upright position. Again, we're going to take those windshield wipers and feel that blood flow and get that circulation back through both of the hips, as you probably feel it a little bit on both sides. Probably the depth is different from one side of the body versus the other. And when you're ready, we're going to come in through our tabletop position, and we're going to step that right foot forward and to the outside of the right hand for our baby dragon or lizard pose, as you may see it in vinyasa. So the right foot's to the outside of the right hand. You can absolutely stay up high. You can take your blocks and come down to your forearms in your dragon. Wherever you're at, we're going to hold in this posture. As we do so, let's try to keep that right knee connected to the upper right arm, maintaining this form for this time. Check in with other parts of the body. Allow the neck to release. Sometimes if you're down low enough too, you can also have a block or maybe a couple of blocks up high enough to support the head and the weight of the head. It's always great to get creative with your props. If you want to use a bolster or blocks, blankets, trust me, in my classes, we grab as many props as we can because it's great to have them near you just in case you need them. And I have to be honest, I have props throughout my house just in case the whim suits me to go ahead and grab a prop and just come into whatever posture that comes to mind. I love trying out new things, sometimes discovering things that I am capable of, a lot of times discovering things that I still need work on. We're going to slowly come out of our lizard pose. So if you were lowered down onto your forearms, let's go ahead and press ourselves back. Press that right foot back. And then you can go ahead and maybe take a few shifts of the hips from left to right. You can come into cat and cow. You can go ahead and press the leg back. Anything that you need to do to release that right hip. And when you're ready, we're going to step that left foot up, coming into our lizard on the opposite side. So you can try the version that you had on the right side, or maybe you find that you can come a little bit more deeply onto this side as well, wherever you're at. But I'd like you to keep that left knee connected with the left upper arm. So we're maintaining a nice straight knee. As we hold here, if you find yourself able to release and come into the posture a little more further, you can do so. Follow that breath. This is a great, deep hip opener. It also requires upper body strength to hold yourself in this position for these longer stretches. As always, when we've held for such a length of time, when you come out, take your time and move slowly. Press back into your tabletop. Maybe shift the hips from right or left. Maybe take a couple of cat and cows. You can stretch the legs out behind you. Whatever you need to get that blood flowing. And when you're ready, we're going to lower down onto our bellies again. This time, coming all the way down to our bellies. And from here, we're going to take the hands out like we would for Sphinx. I'm just going to set my blocks a little more out of the way. So from our Sphinx, with the elbows just slightly in front of the shoulders and the arms at a slight diagonal, fingers are spread slightly wide, and we're going to start to lift the elbows up off of the ground. So we're coming into more of a cobra shape. The elbows are bent, the tops of the legs are connected to the earth, and then we're going to lower down. From here, let's go ahead and inhale up, cobra. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. For this next lift, you may want to take the arms a little bit more at a diagonal. We're going to lift, slight bend in the elbows, and then fully extend the elbows if there's space for that into your low back. If it's too much for your low back, go ahead and keep it at cobra. We're coming all the way into seal. Even if you want to walk the hands a little more closely towards the upper body, that will intensify the upper back bend. From here, we're going to lower down onto our elbows. Once more, coming into cobra with a bent elbow, or starting to straighten, coming into our seal pose. Let's lower all the way down through, coming back into Sphinx or a wider version of Sphinx. And then again, let's take that either to cobra, maybe all the way up into seal pose. If it is accessible for you today, let's inhale. And exhale it out. Wonderful. From here, we're going to push back. And then we're going to come to a seat on our right hip, stacking both of the knees so that the shins are parallel with the long edge of your mat. We're going to take a twist. It's always nice to take some twists after some back bends. And we're going to take a prone reclined twist. So instead of being on our back, now we're on our belly. And you can allow the forehead to come to the back of the hands. Go ahead and breathe here. Notice this is a much different way to feel this shape. It's still a twist, It's a less intense version of our recline twist. You may notice that you probably feel this more into the upper body than if you were on your back. You probably feel your twist mostly in your hips and your lower body. When you're ready, you're going to go ahead and come up onto your forearms. Walk yourself through center. We're going to spin ourselves around and we're going to come to sit on the left hip so that we take that twist to the opposite side. So now we're seated on the left hip. Both of the shins are stacked and they are parallel with the long edge of the mat. And then go ahead and lower your torso down again to the mat, finding the back of the hands. Allow the forehead to come down and to relax. And then just evening yourself out so that you relax through the upper body to enjoy this twist. We're going to slowly come out, just coming up to our forearms. And from here, we're just going to shift onto our backs. So just make your way slowly onto your back as we come into our final pose today, which will be our Shavasana. Lying all the way down flat on your back, extending the legs out long. Allow the feet just to fall open to the side. And then the arms can also mimic the legs by opening up into this big low V with the hands, palms facing up. The eyes can gently close. And we're going to take these last 1 or 2 minutes just to enjoy the peace we have on our mat and feel out that mobility and space that we created throughout our body. We really did work from fingertips all the way down to the toes. Maybe you feel a nice warmth enveloping the spine all the way from the neck down to the tailbone. Maybe you have some gentle warmth created in the low back from our forward folds. Maybe you notice you breathe a little more deeply from those lateral side bends. A little more space created into the sides of the ribs. And best of all, maybe you've created peace physically within your body. And hopefully more peace created within your mind. Please stay in your Shavasana as long as your body needs. When you are ready, you can roll up or come onto your side and make your way back to the center of your mat. To close out your practice, we'll just take a great inhale. Stretching and reaching through the fingertips and draw them down through center as we close out our practice together. As always, thanks for being here and joining me on my channel. New videos every week. I hope you love some of these little mixtures with a little bit of movement, a little bit of long holds. I'm going to have a whole new playlist out there that is just for these sequences that have a little bit of both. I do love a little practice to slow down, so you will find plenty of those here on this channel and new ones every Sunday. So be sure to subscribe and hit the button. As always, have a great day. Make it a good one.